The Correlation Between GDP Per Capita and CO2 Per Capita by Lars Hansen. As you can see in this plot, as the income per person increases, the CO2 per capita increases. And although the income per person is the independent variable and the CO2 per capita changes as the income per person changes, I think there's also an effect that goes both ways. I think that income per person also is affected by the CO2 per capita, and which is another reason why the correlation is so strong. This I think because this is because both welfare and industry spend CO2. So what I mean by this is that a country that needs to gain money also spends electricity, and nowadays electricity mostly comes from CO2. And because they spend electricity, and the more a country produces, the more energy they use, but also the more income they get. And the way this correlates the other way is, as a country gets richer, each individual in the country usually gets richer, and as each individual in the country gets richer, the each person spends more money on welfare and spends money more mindlessly than people who have less money, which in the end increases their CO2 footprint. This effect of a two-way correlation is the main reason for why I chose exactly this with CO2 per capita and income per person. So let's look at some patterns and anomalies for the early stages of the data. The reason I'm looking at 1919 instead of 1807 is because there's more data, and it gives for more clear analysis. Let me mention first that both axes are exponential, as the numbers indicate. Here we can see that there's a positive correlation, and I think there's two patterns going on here. There's one going 45 degrees, where the countries with the most income per person also has the highest outcome of CO2 per capita. And the other trend is that the more the countries with the more income per person also stay at the bottom and have zero CO2 per capita. I think this is because the countries haven't been industrialized. They don't have any inventions that need any burning of fuels or anything. An interesting anomaly here is Switzerland, which you can see is the yellow dot to the right, lower and sticks out. The reason Switzerland had a low output of CO2 in 1919 or in the 19th century was because as they were industrialized and high on income per person, they weren't as high on CO2 per capita, mainly because in Switzerland hydraulic power was used more often instead of steam engines because of the country's topography. And as I play this video here, you can see that the trend mostly goes up and to the right as countries become richer and more wealthy and globalization occurs and things like that. The shifts you see that sometimes go down is because of the world wars and pests and other things like that. Now there's only one pattern, which is the strong correlation going positively, because of what I mentioned in the intro with both variables affecting each other. An anomaly here is North Korea. Um, North Korea actually has the same amount of income and approximately the same amount of CO2 um, per capita as South Korea. However, the difference is um, the way North Korea spends their money. Most of their annual budget, to be correct, 10% of their annual budget goes to military, which explains why most of the income per person is quite a lot lower than other countries. Here we can see two countries compared. This is the United States increasing along with the trend. They actually have one of the highest CO2s per capita and income per persons in the world. And here comes Nigeria. As you can see, Nigeria stays a lot at zero in the beginning and doesn't start to go up until 1965 because it hasn't been industrialized yet. They haven't been through an industrial revolution yet. As you can see, Nigeria is colored blue because it's a part of Africa, and also most other countries that are blue here are low. Nigeria has a lot of fluctuations. This is because of the civil wars. As you can see, the very lowest dots after the industrialization is right after the civil war, and they get a new republic and they have another civil war. And these are the causes for the main fluctuations. But other than that, they're one of the richest countries in Africa because of their strong success in farming. To make sure that my correlation was as strong as I thought, I needed to do a Spearman rank. So I measured out the different income per person, CO2 per capita, and I found the difference in rank. And here you can see the two lines in the RS means the absolute value of the Spearman rank, which was 0.86, which I think is a pretty strong correlation. Here's my graph of the rank of GDP per capita and CO2 per capita, and a linear trend line. And that concludes my investigation. Thank you.